They called him the father of cinematography, but you've probably never heard of him. His name was Louis Le Prince. He created moving pictures before Edison, before the Lumiere brothers, before anyone. But just as he was about to show the world his invention, he vanished. No witnesses, no body, no answers. He disappeared without a trace, and so did his legacy. The world moved on without him. His invention, his name, and his groundbreaking work were almost completely erased from history. What could cause someone on the verge of changing the world to suddenly disappear? This is the story of the man who vanished not once, but twice, first from the world and then from history. Welcome to Silent Stories. In the late 1880s in Leeds, England, a French-born inventor named Louis-Aimé Augustin Le Prince was working on something revolutionary, a camera that could capture moving images. Unlike others at the time, who were still focused on still photography, Le Prince was dreaming bigger. He wanted to capture life as it moved, in real time. He wasn't working in a big lab or under a major company. His operation was small and quiet. In 1888, he made history. Le Prince filmed several short clips, including one now known as the Roundhay Garden scene. In this grainy black and white film, you see four people walking in a circle and smiling. It's only a few seconds long, but it was the first time life had ever been captured in motion. He also filmed his son, Adolphe, playing the accordion. These moments may seem simple today, but back then, they were nothing short of magical. More importantly, Le Prince wasn't just recording moving images. He had also designed a projector, meaning he was ready to show these films to the public. Years before Thomas Edison unveiled the kinetoscope, years before the Lumiere brothers became famous in France, Le Prince had working technology. He had succeeded, but the world didn't know it yet. In 1890, Louis Le Prince stood on the edge of a breakthrough that could have changed the course of cinematic history. After years of tireless experimentation and quiet development, he was finally ready to show the world what he had built, a working motion picture system. This was not a prototype. It was real. It worked. He planned to travel to the United States, where he would give public demonstrations of his invention, secure patent rights, and stake his claim as the true pioneer of moving pictures. The moment was his. The future of visual storytelling could have worn his name. All signs pointed to success. But before setting sail for America, Le Prince decided to take a brief detour. He traveled to Dijon, France to visit his brother. It was meant to be a simple, quiet family visit before the whirlwind of publicity and presentations. On September 16th, Le Prince boarded a train to Paris, where he was scheduled to meet friends and finalize his travel arrangements to the US. The journey should have taken only a few hours, but he never arrived. When the train reached Paris, Le Prince was gone. His seat was empty, his luggage was missing. His brother confirmed that he had seen him board the train, but from there all traces vanished. No one saw him disembark. No other passengers reported anything odd. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no disturbed belongings. It was as if the man had simply evaporated somewhere between Dijon and Paris, swallowed by the journey itself. His family, alarmed and confused, immediately contacted the police. An investigation was launched, and trained personnel were questioned, yet nothing turned up. No eyewitnesses, no body, no clues. The train staff couldn't remember anything unusual. Le Prince hadn't been ill or troubled. There were no reports of suspicious passengers. The search expanded to nearby towns, train yards, and even rivers, but the inventor had vanished into thin air. It wasn't just mysterious, it was deeply unsettling. The disappearance wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a historical rupture. At the exact moment when he should have stepped into fame and recognition, Louis Le Prince vanished, erasing his opportunity and his legacy in a single stroke. His family was devastated, but also baffled. There was no clear reason, No apparent motive, no letter, no clue. It was as though history itself had conspired to forget him. As you might expect, the theories surrounding Leprince's disappearance came fast and haven't stopped since. Some believe it was suicide, that perhaps Leprince was overwhelmed or suffering emotionally and decided to end his own life. But this theory doesn't hold up well. He was excited about his trip to America. He was confident in his invention. Friends and family described him as optimistic and in good health. There was no clear motive. Another theory says he may have staged his own disappearance to escape business pressures or family issues. Maybe he wanted to start a new life somewhere else. But again, why would someone walk away from something so groundbreaking just when the world was about to recognize it? The most sinister theory is murder. And at the center of that theory is Thomas Edison. Edison was known to aggressively protect his inventions. He had powerful backers, deep pockets, and a ruthless business style. Some believe Leprince was seen as a threat, a man who had already succeeded in creating motion pictures before Edison. If that were true, eliminating him could open the path to claiming credit and control over the future of cinema. It's a theory with no smoking gun, but it does raise eyebrows because what happened next only adds to the mystery. Just 1 year after Leprince vanished, Thomas Edison introduced his kinetoscope, a device that allowed a single viewer to watch moving images through a peephole. It was a success. Over the next few years, Edison became known as the inventor of motion pictures. He began suing competitors and forcing others out of the market. But Leprince's family wasn't ready to let go. In 1898, his son Adolphe testified in court in a legal battle over motion picture patents. He presented his father's early footage as evidence that Leprince, not Edison, had invented the first working motion picture system. He showed films from 1888, years before Edison's invention. Despite the evidence, the court sided with Edison. Just 3 years later, in 1901, Adolphe Leprince died from a gunshot wound during a hunting trip in New York. The death was ruled accidental, but some believe it was more than that, a second silencing. First, the father disappears. Then the son dies under mysterious circumstances. 2 men, 1 family, 1 invention, erased. Over 100 years later, in 2003, a discoverer deepened the mystery. In an old French police archive, a photograph was found. It showed the body of a drowned man pulled from the Seine River in Paris in the 1890s. The man had never been identified, but he looked remarkably like Louis Leprince. Could this be the missing inventor? If so, what happened to him? Did he fall into the river? Was he pushed? Was he murdered and dumped into the Seine? And why didn't the police ever connect the body to the missing inventor whose case was open at the time? Was it incompetence or something darker? We don't know. The discovery only added more questions and no real answers. Louis Leprince had everything. He had the technology, he had the films, he had the vision, he had the ambition. But what he didn't have was power or protection. His disappearance allowed others to take credit for his work, to rewrite the narrative, to bury his name. History is not always fair. It remembers those who win in courtrooms and boardrooms, not always those who got there first. Today, we remember Edison. We remember the Lumiere brothers. But Louis Leprince, he remains a ghost, a footnote in the margins of history, the man who captured the first moving image and then vanished forever. He disappeared once on a train and once again from the pages of history books. But if you look closely in those old flickering black and white films, you can still get him. In the smiles of people walking through a garden, in the hands of a young boy playing accordion, in the shadows of the past, Louis Leprince is still there, unseen, uncelebrated, but not forgotten. What really happened to Louis Leprince? Was he killed for what he knew? Did he disappear on purpose? Was it an accident that history conveniently ignored? We may never find out. But one thing is certain. The story of cinema began long before we were told it did. And at its true beginning stood a man who never got to see the lights dim, the reels roll, and the applause echo. This was Silent Stories. Subscribe for more forgotten tales, mysterious figures, and eerie echoes from the past.